Hello everyone, welcome to the Health Hybrid. Today's video is going to be in regards to a very controversial subject. As you can see by the title of this video, we are going to be discussing the sex industry and mental health. So in the beginning, while I was doing my research, this video was going to be titled "The Sex Industry is a Societal Need." This is due to the amount or wealth of information I've found throughout different time periods in history where either for religious or cultural reasons, sex workers were utilized, were obtained, were worshipped, and so on. However, as I was thinking about it, I realized first of all, there wasn't that much information because it was a very taboo topic up until recently. So the amount of research in regards to studies is very, very limited, if not almost non-existent. However, there is plenty of historical documentation of this taking place, so I did want to talk about it, but then I realized that by expressing my views, it would become more of an opinion piece as opposed to a fact-based research piece. So rather than speak about this field in a controversial or inflammatory manner, I decided to look at it a bit more closely with information that is actually readily accessible. It is already a highly polarized subject, so adding gasoline to the flame just seems very redundant. Like many of you, I have come across the notion that it is dangerous, promotes ideas and behavior that are ill to our health, that are not good for our health, should I say, as well as promoting sex or sexual activity in a negative manner, whereby women are objectified and girls are taught that this is how they get validated, this is how they're important, this is how they're beautiful, and so on. So really, it was the messaging that a lot of people are afraid of, not the very act itself, but whenever a woman primarily engages in this activity, this industry or this field is used in a derogatory manner to send home a message, and that message is saying sex is dirty. One of the core arguments against this particular industry is that the idea of consent or consensual activities between two consenting adults is usually blurred within this field. There is a very dark side and dark history to this area, and many people have done research on it. In fact, things like trafficking, things like diseases or illnesses are commonly brought up when people mention this industry. And in case you're wondering why I'm not utilizing the word frequently, it's because YouTube has certain guidelines about what kind of language is or isn't permitted. So I am dancing around the term, but you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. It rhymes with, well, it's the letter 6, just replace the I with an E and you and I are on the same page. There are particular branches within the feminist arena that are very against the industry, and then there are ones who are very supportive, encouraging of its presence. They tie in this industry to liberation, women's freedom, and the women's movement overall that has brought us to the equality that we see today. I'm not here to tell you whether this is good or bad or right or wrong. I simply want to give information and you can make up your mind using it or not. Ultimately, it is up to you. Now, the majority of the research, once again, is in regards to it being either something to do with morality, so there is somewhat of a bias in the way the subject is approached, or it's in relation to disease or in relation to non-consensual activity, but very rarely is the mental health of those who partake within this area, predominantly women, spoken about. The research, I would say, before 2010 was very restricted to the negative or harmful or abusive dark areas within this field, and more recent years, I would say from 2015 onwards, we are seeing more conversation about intersectionality, the LGBTQ community's involvement. We're looking at mental health, the perspective of the self for these people, as opposed to this is bad, this is going to make you sick, don't do it. So there is definitely a larger picture that has been drawn. So some of the mental health concerns that have been brought up over the time span that research was permitted and acceptable would be conditions such as PTSD, apathy, depression, anxiety being pretty prevalent within this industry. However, how that mental health is dealt with, how severe it becomes, really comes down to societal perception, stigma, and self-perception. Meaning, the negative perception we have of the people within this industry does contribute to their ill health. When there is self-acceptance, self-confidence, and an overall understanding that their worth matters, they're more likely, for example, to seek out professional help. However, in many cases and instances, it's been shown that even within healthcare itself, when sex industry workers attend for appointments or inquire about their health, they're treated differently due to the stigma. Meaning, even if they are searching for help, or they want to leave the industry, or they want contraceptive methods to be accessible to them, a lot of people do not make it easy. In a study conducted in the Netherlands, where the sex industry is much more liberal than many other Western nations, it has been demonstrated that stigma contributes to the lack of mental health support or inquiry when the time comes or is needed. Neither does it help that disproportionately the LGBTQ community makes up the sex industry's workforce, in addition to women who are from a lower socioeconomic background or from low-income neighborhoods or nations. This is an industry that usually is conducted in a very hush-hush type of manner, which really does put these people at risk due to their inability to seek help or go to the police if there is a question or an issue, because in many cases it is a criminalized profession. It is illegal, it is taboo, it is disgusting, and so on. For people who partake within this industry for financial reasons, let's say sugar babies, they would have an alternative identity, an identity at work, in front of their friends, at home, to prevent people from finding out what it is that they're doing, despite the fact that so many people are partaking in it. The sex industry is not limited to the P word, which I cannot say because YouTube gods are watching me, is not the only form of sex work that exists. We have online virtual platforms now, which really works against the notion that it's dangerous due to the fact that you are not physically meeting your clientele anymore. You are doing it from the comforts of your home, using your phone, using a webcam, using a computer, so the risk for infections, disease, physically being abused, and pregnancy scares are relatively non-existent. I looked into the modern form of sex work just to get a better idea of what's going on. The recent forms of sex work that exist within social media and platforms such as OnlyFans, which actually isn't utilized or made for that utility but has become known for that, is not greatly researched enough for me to sit here and give you guys feedback, but it has become a place of research and a topic of discussion due to its prevalence. I'm sorry if you guys can hear screaming. My neighbors have kids and they sound like they're having a party for grade 5s. Like, I don't know what is going on, and the topic of discussion doesn't help, so please, kids, nap time, please. Now, these are my final thoughts towards this topic overall, based on what I've found through research, hearsay, my experiences growing up, the friendships I've made with people who are a part of that industry, and I had no idea that was the case. This is why I'm not procreating. Sorry, mama. As I was saying, or I was trying to say, it is no secret that the demographic of this industry has changed over... Mother. It is no secret that the demographic within this industry has changed over time. Not only is it people who have a low income, but also those who want to contribute to their income, who are willingly partaking in this industry. It's not only people who have been forcefully taken, who went against their will, who are desperate to make a living. There are people who genuinely enjoy sort of the experience, whether it's the attention, whether it's a financial gain. It is a much more open space and dialogue that we're having. I think that the openness to discussing the various forms of intimacy that exist has led to a greater understanding of this field. And remember, it's in its very early stages, so honestly, we're probably going to have a lot more to talk about in the next 5 to 10 years time when it comes to this field and how it affects us all. Traditionally speaking, or historically speaking, in the Western Hemisphere, it was clear that people who partake in this type of activity, who have friends or family within it, who have in the past, for whatever reason, were seen as people who should fear. clear. They were seen as the other, right? They were seen as the people that you don't want your daughters to turn out like, that you don't want your sons to fall in love with or get addicted to. And this type of messaging was spread in religious congregations, amongst family, friends, and even business practices. In today's world, it has become evident that sex work is not only nuanced, but so are the people who partake in it. The reasons as to why they join, stay, or leave are a lot more complex than what meets the eye. Arguments that were against this industry that utilized risks and safety have now been cast to the side due to the presence of online platforms such as social media or websites such as OnlyFans. Sex work is not new. It's not a modern day concept. It has been with us for centuries. In fact, I think the earliest reference to it would be at the very least 1000 BC or 1200 BC. It's been around for a very long time. Whether it's a government or king or authority figure giving sex worker access to their soldiers or their people, whether it's people needing to make extra money, therefore joining the industry, whether it's people trying to escape forms of abuse or even pay for the university, it's clear that the industry has expanded and just changed in definition and the way it's fleshed out. Of course, we shouldn't ignore the fact that people were isolated and dehumanized and still are in today's world within this industry, but to ignore the overall structural change that has taken place, especially in the West, is ignorant and not very honest. I'm glad we're in a place that we finally recognize sex workers as humans who have feelings, emotions, needs, traumas, and that they need to be addressed. And this is mostly due to the fact that they have been seeking resources or help or access to information and have been denied or stigmatized to the point where they couldn't get that information. So today's world means if they need that help, if they need that support, that information, that understanding to leave, how to make a living without it, with it, whatever it may be, they can at the very least now speak about it. In the original video I was going to post, I was going to talk about the link between women's liberation and this industry and tell you guys how it's interconnected. The fact that I'm sitting here dressed like this, speaking to you guys about this topic and not losing my day job or not being kicked out of a community shows you that we've progressed to the point where we can have these discussions, and it only is a benefit to those who are within this industry, but also everyday women, I would say. And yes, I know that is a very controversial point to have, but I do think there is a direct tie or link to my liberation, my freedoms as to who I date, where I go, how I dress, and this industry and its accessibility. This industry's accessibility has served many people over centuries, and to deny the fact that they have a purpose, that they meet a need, and are here to stay is problematic. Looking at them as the other, the thing to be scared of, to hate, to judge by, for example, when a woman's not interested physically or is very physically active, that she must be a part of this industry and she'll be labeled as such. All of that type of language and mumbo jumbo, we've come to see that first of all, this is something that women are interested in too. Women enjoy intimacy. It's not a crime. Biblically speaking, because I know a lot of religious doctrine does talk about a lot of this, but even biblically speaking, there is a section where Solomon describes the woman he was in love with, discusses her body. Like, there is no negative perception of sex that the biblical or religious doctrines push, but the people who run it or preach it do tend to do that quite a bit. And I ask this with kindness, if you are one of those people, because I know I've been in that position myself, to please look introspectively, look at yourself and see why you feel and think this way. Why is it that you're so bothered by it when you know it exists and always has existed, and it's something you probably also desire as well. So that is the thoughts that I had going through my mind. This video isn't as structured as the last two were, but since it is once again a very nuanced topic, research is not that vast. I for some reason keep choosing topics that are like that, and it is very controversial in nature, so I'm glad that I got to have this conversation with you guys. I will put the studies for this video in the description box for you guys to go and search and seek out yourselves. You can ignore it, you can be against it, you can be for it. I don't mind, I don't care, if I'm going to be honest. So let me know in the comments if you are somebody who agrees, disagrees, are neutral on this topic, anything. This is the perks of living near the highway. Why am I listening to every motorcycle in town? Anyways, regardless of what your opinion is, share it down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Stay safe, take care, and bye-bye.